Okay, today I'm going to do free response 2018 number 4. So this free response deals with 2D arrays and one-dimensional arrays. So you will write two static methods, both of which are in a class called array tester. So here is array tester, and it says returns an array containing the elements of column C of array 2D in the same order as they appear in array 2D. So here is public static int get column. This is a method that will return to you an integer array. It's called get column. You send to the array a reference to a two-dimensional array and an integer, which indicates the column you plan on getting by column number. This is what we're going to do in part A. Now, there are a couple helper methods that are given to you. They don't show you the implementation, but they tell you what it does. The first is called public static boolean has all values, and you send it two different one-dimensional arrays. And reading the comments above, it says returns true if and only if every value in array 1 appears in array 2. There's another helper method called contains duplicates. So it's also a static method. It returns a boolean, just like has all values does. And you send to it a reference to a one-dimensional array. So it's just going to return true if there are duplicate values in the array. For part B, here's the array you're going to implement. It's called is Latin. It returns a boolean. So it returns true if the matrix that you sent, which has to be a square matrix, which means there's an equal number of rows or columns. So it's going to be a 2 by 2 or a 3 by 3 or a 4 by 4 and so on. So the precondition is has an equal number of rows and columns, and the square has at least one row. And it'll return true if it's a Latin square. So the question you should be asking yourself is, well, what the heck is a Latin square? So let's find out. But first, let's do part A. So part A says, write a static method called getColumn, which returns a one-dimensional array containing the elements of a single column in a two-dimensional array. The elements in the returned array should be in the same order as they appear in the column. The notation array 2D RC, standing for row and column, represents the array element at row R and column C. The following code segment initializes an array and calls getColumn method. So they're just showing you, here's an example array, and this is how you would call getColumn. You would do it by sending a reference to the two-dimensional array and an indication of which column you want. So remember, columns, the index start at 0, 1, 2. So you're basically asking for them to send you column number 1. So when you do that, the variable result, which is what we're storing the one-dimensional array is, should print column 1 in the order, just kind of flipped on its side. So when I flip the page over, this is where we're going to actually write our answer for getColumn. All right, so basically what we're going to need to do is, since we're returning an integer array, we're going to need to instantiate an array of the proper size. And we can do that by saying int array, and we're just going to call it x is a new int array. And the size we can get by saying we are sent a reference to the two-dimensional array. And if you recall from an earlier lesson, and you're told actually that these arrays are square, so you could just say dot length, okay, because you need to know the proper size. So all we really have to do is loop through this two-dimensional array by row, and we're just going to be keeping the column fixed. So, because this is the column we want. So like in the example, it would be sending you a 1. So I'm just going to write a simple for loop for int row equals 0. And I'm going to say row is less than array 2d dot length. And then row plus plus. And we're going to say, since x is the name of our array, we're going to say x of row is going to be equal to what's stored in the two-dimensional array at that row. Because remember, we need to cycle through rows because we're asking for a column. And then which column are we interested in? C. And that's never going to change. That's the column we want. So when we're all done, we got to make sure we return what we said we were going to return, which is this integer array. So outside of the for loop, we would write return x. And that completes part 1. So I'm going to pause this video and make a second video for part B.